Thanks for joining me. I'd like to give you an update on how the campaign's been going. It's approximately 1 year since we first declared that we would run for this office. And I've always admitted that I was a reluctant candidate because I didn't know for sure exactly what would happen. And after a bit of persuasion, I agreed to form an exploratory committee, and then that eventually turned into the Presidential Campaign Committee. This has gone much better than I ever dreamed because my reluctance was I didn't know how the young people would respond, and I didn't know if there would be enough people out in the country that really cared about preserving freedom and the Constitution. But now that a year has passed, I have to tell you, I am much more optimistic than I ever dreamed I would be. Things have gone quite well. The number of people that have joined us are absolutely astounding, and the fundraising has gone absolutely exceedingly well. So this is really a great time for us to reassess where the campaign has gone in this past year. We've had some major successes, but we've also had some serious challenges. The successes now is that in 2 states we've come in second, and that was in the state of Nevada as well as Louisiana. And even in Louisiana, we believe that if we counted all the votes, we may well have come in first place. So it's not only challenging to raise money and campaign, but it's very challenging to make sure that all the votes are counted, and that is a real difficult problem for us. But nevertheless, I'd have to say that tremendous things have been achieved. The number of meetup groups that have been formed spontaneously around the country is utterly amazing. And the fact that there's been fundraising done spontaneously on the internet, and we had 3 separate days where we raised $12 million, probably broke all kinds of records. This tells you how starved the people are for this message, which is not a new message. It's not Ron Paul's message as much as it's the message of the Constitution and the message of freedom, and there's a great need. This is something that I underestimated. I thought it might take another decade or 2 to get enough people to understand the need for this message. But evidently, because of the conditions we face, whether it's the foreign policy problems or whether it's the economic problems we face, we have found out that there's a lot of people who are indeed very, very interested in what we're doing. Not only do we get a lot of support in this country and all the activity, we actually get support around the world. Somebody bumped into me the other day at one of our rallies, and he came up and he explained to me, he says, well, in his home country, they had a meetup group and it had 120 members, and this was in Argentina. So evidently, not only are the people of the United States starved for this message, but maybe the people of the world are delighted to hear this message as well. But the number of meetup groups and the amount of money we raised is very significant, but we also have to be very realistic. If you take a national poll, it's not as high as we would like it to be. And the states that we have done well in are the smaller states. So in many ways, we have to target the states. We have to spend our money wisely. Although we've had significant amount of money, we have a difficult time competing with those who might have $100 million plus. And this is the need that we have to, the need that we have to orient our campaign in this manner. Now, since we have not done as well in some states as we had expected and others had anticipated, we have made some changes, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about those changes. First, I have appointed an old friend of mine, Mark Elam, as the media director. He's been working with me for over 30 years. He and I got together and worked in the Reagan campaign as early as 1976. And he has a lot of expertise, and I think we're going to see a lot of improvements on our ads and our media approach. Also, another individual who's been very much involved in campaigning, especially in caucus work, who had worked with Pat Robertson, now is going to be the political director. He helped us in a significant manner in the 2 states that we have done well, in Louisiana and in Nevada. So to me, these are very important changes, and we should expect to even see a better campaign as time goes on. But you know, in this past year, we've also had a lot of people joining us almost spontaneously, because I have not been aggressive in going out and demanding or putting pressure on people to come and join the campaign. But spontaneously, we have a lot of people joining us, like Barry Goldwater Jr. That was a great name to associate with our campaign. And just recently, Norma McGorvey, the lady that was part of the Roe versus Wade, who became a Christian and pro-life, she spontaneously called me up and she said, I'd I'd like to endorse you, which she did at the Right to Life rally here just recently in Washington. And then another individual who was a fantastic governor, who was known as the veto governor of New Mexico, Gary Johnson. He served 2 terms out there. He spontaneously, just sent out an endorsement. So these are the kind of things that are happening, and very, very encouraging. We've had 2 economists join us in the campaign that are in an advisory capacity, Peter Schiff and Don Luskin. These are well-known individuals, and they are free market oriented, and they're enthusiastic about the campaign. But we do have a lot of other people who identify with what we're doing, and to me that is very, very encouraging. The other night when I was leaving Florida, 2 individuals spontaneously came up to me at the airport. They did not know each other, but they were both very, very supportive. But one individual came up and said, well, I realize, the difficulty, and I don't expect you to be able to go all the way. That was sort of his attitude. But I love what you're doing, and you got to keep going, keep fighting it. And the other individual more or less challenged him. He says, what do you mean? He says, we're going all the way. And I think they represent sort of a division in the campaign. There's a lot of people who understand exactly what we're doing and the possible limitations. And others are determined that it's all the way or else. And, I share both those views. And I think we all should share those views, because I don't think we do know the future. When I started running last year, and even the strongest supporters that I had that encouraged me to do this, I think we've achieved a lot more than even the optimists believed. It certainly is a lot more than I ever thought would happen. So this is the reason I don't close the door to anything. At the same time, we have to realize what we have taken on. We have taken on the establishment. So it is not easy to overcome this, whether we take on the military-industrial complex, the medical industry, the banking industry, the foreign policy industry, all these things. This is truly a revolution. It is not just tinkering around the edges. So we can't be at a point where an absolute victory is the only answer, because believe me, the one thing I have firmly come to conclude on this is that no matter what happens, I know the people that have joined us are going to continue this fight. There is no doubt in my mind, because already we have dozens of people who want to run for public office on this platform that we have. So we should be very, very encouraged. The vote of confidence continues to grow. Our crowds keep getting bigger. So there's every reason in the world to be optimistic that a lot of good is going to come from this campaign. And I work on the knowledge that I do not know exactly what the future will bring, but I'm always open to even more successes. And I believe this is a great possibility that we will far exceed anybody's expectations. I do want to make sure everybody knows how much I appreciate the confidence that you have placed in me. That, to me, is the most important thing to keep me going, because there are long days and it is tiring, but I love the job of delivering a message. And I always make the point, it's not me as much as the message. And this is so important. I think a lot of people recognize this. It's a message of freedom. It's a message of the Constitution and limited government. We all have made the term freedom is popular a very well-known slogan, and that is the truth. And it's popular not only with conservative Republicans, but it's popular with many Democrats and many independents, because there is such a need for what has happened. Last year, it was just like lighting a prairie fire, and it's spreading, so I don't believe there's any way to stop it. But we will continue this fight. The improvements we may have made, I think, are very significant. There's every reason to believe that there's a lot more to be achieved. There's a lot of questions asked me continuously by the media. When are you going to quit? When are you going to drop out? And I tell them this: I'll drop out when my supporters lose confidence and they no longer volunteer and they no longer send money. As long as that continues, we will continue the fight. And right now, there's every evidence to believe that there's no signs that the confidence is waning. Matter of fact, just a couple days ago, there was a fundraising event, and we had over 5,000 brand new donors and brand new supporters. No other campaign can claim that type of victory. They're hurting and they're having trouble. Matter of fact, right now, the media constantly ask me, why do you run when you're, on the fringe and you're not real high on the polls? And I said, well, it depends on how you look at it. There were 11 candidates that started out in this race. 11 Republicans have been on the stage and in the debates. There are now 5. And when you think about it, if you count the total votes, we are currently ahead on gross votes, ahead of Giuliani. So I would say 4th place out of 11 at this point is not all that bad. So we must continue this and make the very best of this. And once again, I want to thank everybody for this effort. And to me, the most important thing is spread this message and stay involved. This is worth the fight. The young people are joining us for one very specific reason. They know what they're inheriting, and they love the philosophy of liberty. They love the philosophy of the Constitution, and they believe in this. So we must continue this fight. Thank you for joining in.